Hi everybody. In this video I want to give you some tips for drafting Writing Project 3. So at this point you have read through the material in the module on outlining your paper and ideas for organizing your paper, and at this point I want to give you some tips for how would you move from, say, an outline into drafting a full draft of Writing Project 3. So first, let's remember, as I've said in class, remember that writing is a process. And this process includes, well, these basic sorts of steps, right? There's pre-writing, there's writing or drafting, rewriting or revising, and then finally editing and proofreading. Pre-writing refers to all the things that you do before you actually sit down to draft a full version of your paper. That can include researching, writing to yourself, reflecting to yourself, discussing your ideas with others, reading sources, creating an annotated bibliography, all the stuff that you do in order to create your ideas that you're going to use in a paper. Then there's writing and drafting, which is what we're going to talk about in this video, and that only comes after a lot of pre-writing. Then there's rewriting or revising, that key part of your process where you rework your ideas and reshape them for your readers. And then, of course, finally editing and proofreading. But let's talk about writing and drafting. So writing and drafting. At this point, I'm assuming again that you've read through my material on outlining, so that makes sense to you, and you might be ready to start actually writing your paper. We'll start with drafting. I think the first thing you have to have in place is you have a topic sentence outline. Again, that's not a formal outline that you might have written in some previous class. Formal outlines can be very helpful, but that's not what this outline is. This is a roadmap outline, kind of a messy outline to yourself that helps you know what your main point or thesis is going to be in the paper and all the supporting points and evidence that you need to support that thesis and explain it to your readers. So I argue that you need to have that before you start sitting in front of your piece of paper or your computer and actually drafting your paper. So have a topic sentence outline, have your roadmap ready and in front of you. Then you open up your document with that document and you begin writing with your working thesis. First thing, period. Don't start with an introduction. Don't be sitting there beating yourself up about what the first word of your paper is going to be. That's not where you start. You start drafting with your working thesis, the answer to your question, the main thing you want to say in the paper. Start with that. Then hit enter and begin using your outline, explaining and supporting your thesis, the answer to your question. So go right through that outline that you've crafted for yourself and develop the answer to your question, your thesis. As you're doing that, make sure you use the MEAL structure to flesh out your points with your evidence. Remember that basic structure for your body paragraphs. Main claim, evidence, analysis, and then at the end of your paragraph, some form of link that connects your reader back to your point in that paragraph. So you flesh out your topic sentence outline. You use that roadmap and work your way through your ideas in your paper. Are your ideas going to change a little bit as you draft? Absolutely. I assume, and you should assume, that even though you've written a topic sentence outline, that as you draft, your ideas will mature, they will change, and you might move them around, you might get some new ideas, and that's fine, that's healthy, it's part of the process. But it's very important to at least have that roadmap to guide you in this messy process. So you have some sense of where you need to go, even as you get new ideas and refine the ones you have jotted down. And I suggest that when you draft, you try and complete this part of your drafting, that you draft your topic sentence outline out into sort of the body of your paper or the proof section of your paper, or the confirmatio and refutatio section of your paper, if you're using that 6-part outline. You try and do that as much as possible in one sitting. Try and set that time aside to draft in one sitting to help you focus on your ideas. After you've done the drafting, you've drafted out your topic sentence outline from your working thesis through all your supporting points in that outline, and take a break. Go do something else. Save your document, close it, do something else. You need your you need time to regroup and think about something else for a bit as this draft is cooking in your subconscious mind. Then come back to your draft and now read it through. And as you're reading it through to yourself, feel free to revise ideas as you go. You'll probably start seeing, oh, this paragraph would go better later, or I need to add this idea to this paragraph, or I forgot that piece of evidence for this idea here. Let me put that in now. That's fine. That's part of the process. Read your draft, revise it as you go. And when you've completed reading it through, then take a shot at a conclusion. After you've read it through, now decide, what are the takeaways? What do you want your reader to really understand? What has emerged as really important to you? Write that conclusion, that closing, after you've read through your draft. And take another break. Go do something else. And when you're ready, come back to your draft, which now has a conclusion. Read through the whole thing again, all the way through the conclusion. And then after you've done that, take some time to figure out what your reader needs to know about your question and topic before they will understand your thesis and your answer. Then draft your opening and introduction, one that helps your readers get the question that you're writing about and the answer you have written about. So that's the last thing in your drafting process. So wait, you're saying, Dr. Teller, are you saying to wait until the end of your drafting to draft your opening, your introduction? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Save the introduction or the opening of your paper for last. If you think about it, that actually makes quite a bit of sense. Why sit and waste time struggling over your opening or your introduction first if you haven't actually written the argument and the paper that you are introducing? That's kind of wasting time if you think about it, because you haven't developed the argument yet. You haven't written out your thesis and explained it to a reader in the body of your paper, so you don't really know what you're introducing yet. You don't know what you're opening up into. So you do that last. Another analogy to think about is we all love movies, but we probably also realize that they don't actually film the movie in the order that we watch the movie. The way they film a movie, the order in which they film scenes for a movie depends totally on production schedules, actor availability, and a lot of other things. It's the film editors that actually put the movie together in the order in which we watch it in the theater. So similarly, good writing doesn't happen in the same order that a reader reads the writing. In many cases, it happens in the way that I'm explaining here. You develop your argument, you develop your paper, your thesis, and your evidence for that thesis and argument first. Then eventually you come around and write the introduction or the opening when you have something to actually introduce. Now that sounds like a lot of work, right? This drafting process I'm giving you sounds like a whole lot of work, and that's absolutely correct. Good writing comes from hard work and a long, messy process of pre-writing, writing, and rewriting. There is no secret to good and effective writing. It is all hard work, like most everything else in life. So good writers know that their process is going to be lengthy and messy. There are no shortcuts to it. There really aren't. So I offer you this process as a way to think about drafting your paper. It is yours to adapt and use as you see helpful. And I look forward to reading drafts of Writing Project 3 as they come in a couple of weeks.